This is Good Morning San Diego.
Welcome back. Switching gears just a little bit. The California Department of Education is working to reduce the number of law enforcement officers in public schools. State Superintendent Tony Thurmond said although they are working on the role of police officers, the need for police presence is still needed. The state superintendent said that they are revising how to address school issues at public schools. And here to talk more about this movement to possibly remove police from schools is Mark Powell from the San Diego County Board of Education. Mark, great to have you on this morning. How are you?
Good morning. Thank you for having me, Liz.
Very important topic, so polarizing. There's so many different views about police and being present on school campuses. You just heard the state superintendent say there is obviously a need to have officers on campus. Do you agree with that line of thinking?
Well, absolutely. We don't want to remove police officers or school resource officers from police campuses because they have an important function. A lot of people may not know this, but they do crimes at schools that range from there's sex trafficking going on, there's violent assaults, there's batteries. In fact, almost 3,600 cases throughout the United States reporting students bringing weapons, guns, or explosives to school. So we need a law enforcement presence at school, but we also need a law enforcement presence that's not solely in law enforcement. And I have a plan that I'm going to pitch to our board very soon. I'd like to share it with you.
Yeah, please do so. Tell us a little bit about part of this plan that you're going to inform the board about.
Well, back in early 1990, San Diego Police Department implemented something called community-oriented policing. That's where you had police officers actually in neighborhoods, walking the beat, talking to the local residents and businesses, and they did not look like outside intruders coming into a neighborhood. They became part of the fabric, and I think we should have police officers doing the same things, maybe serving as para-educators, volunteering in the classroom, teaching the kids, playing Foursquare, helping them with assignments, very similar to what a student or a student teacher or a TA would do. That way, you start building back the trust in law enforcement and start mending those bridges that really need mending today.
Yeah, that kind of goes in line with some of the police reform ideas that are out there, is really getting officers and the community, in this case it would be the student community, yes, building upon those relationships and building upon that trust. You know, when we talk about some of the crimes that are being reported or alleged crimes being reported on school campuses, many parents, as you alluded to when you said sex trafficking, that it exists, that is happening, and that is students are reporting that. A lot of parents may be surprised to hear that that is going on. Do you have statistics? Do you have numbers or certain percentage of cases that you've heard about within the county?
Well, yes, I do. So there was a survey done with high schools in San Diego County. 100% of the high schools reported that their students had reported they were either approached to be sex trafficked by people. 90% of the high schools reported that they knew of students, and you know, it's sad as a parent and as a school board member. The average age of a sex trafficked person is 16 years old, and they're usually female. We need law enforcement on the campus to help interdict and stop these kind of things from going on. Removing them is not going to be a good idea.
Yeah, I didn't want to go off topic, but because you brought that up, and as a parent myself, you know, as we've been reporting on these issues, I'm now aware that crime is out there and very prevalent in our community, but many other parents may not be aware that it is indeed happening. Going back to now reforming the role or modifying the role of a police officer, you bring an interesting perspective, I believe, Mark, because not only are you a board member, San Diego County member of the Board of Education, but you are also a former San Diego Reserve police officer. Tell me me about your feelings towards what is happening right now, the current climate, and how a lot of the community feels about police.
Well, make no mistake about it. Police reform is 100% necessary. There are police officers that are doing things that are abusive. They shouldn't be doing those things. We've seen it on TV. They're horrible. The George Floyd incident, it's disgusting to watch that kind of event happen live on TV. But what I did find out was that students are scared of the police, and they weren't scared of the police when I was going to school in the 60s. And we need to change that. Students should not be scared to talk to police officers. And I remember when I was teaching back in the early 90s, we had a DARE program. The DARE officer would come in and teach a class. The kids loved this officer, and they built strong bonds with the officer. We need those kind of strong bonds built with our students and our law enforcement once again.
And of course, part of your plan is to integrate police officers into the classroom to better build those relationships, instill that trust between the officers and the kids. My last question to you, Mark, this morning before I let you go is, how long would it take to implement this plan? I mean, what would need to happen? Obviously, I know some retraining would have to happen, but give us a timeline.
Well, I'm going to introduce it at our next board meeting. I'm going to share it with our board members. I'm going to bring it up so that we can have that discussion. However, there was already a program with San Diego Police Department called the STAR Powell program, and STAR was for students to integrate with police officers, but it was an after-school type of a program. My program would be a little bit different. It would be going on during school. So I would estimate that we can give this program, it's going to be at least 6 months to a year, but we need to start that discussion now. What we do know is if you ever have a problem with somebody, just ignoring them or removing them from the conversation is not the way to solve that situation. We all need to be sitting at the table, and we all need to be talking about what we can do to keep schools safe and better the relationship with law enforcement and the community, especially in those neighborhoods where the trust of law enforcement is gone.
Mark Powell, board member with the San Diego Board of Education. Thank you for your time this morning. We'll stay on top of it and check back with you to see what the board decides to do.
Thank you, Liz. Thank you very much.
Okay, take care.